Welcome to the Weekend Review, a random conversation between young scholars from the Fort Hall School of Government and Professor Matiang'i. Today we will generate a set of hypotheses around the politics of burning schools. We will ask 3 questions. The first question is, how do we know that what we know is true?
Can we use 2 theories that you've taught us to test this truth? The first one is Aristotle's correspondence theory of truth, where we measure what we are told is the truth against what is real and then see if they correspond. Or shall we use his coherence theory of truth and test the information that is being given to us to see if it is logical and consistent?
You don't need complex theoretical positions to understand the burning of fires in our schools. Personally, I don't believe that we have raised a nation of arsonists in our children. These fires have their owners, and the owners, in my view, are not the kids that we have raised in the schools. That's number one. Number two, the intellectual lapdogs of CORD told us very early in the day that if a number of electoral reforms are not put in place, Kenya will burn. And we saw Kenya burning in small installments. When we disagreed over IEBC, we burnt a little bit of Kenya. When some MPs were arrested because they had uttered some things that were unpalatable, we were told that we will burn another piece of Kenya. Now another piece of Kenya is being burnt by the students. We don't know what other part of Kenya will burn little by little by little. So this idea of Kenya burning as a narrative, the idea of lighting little fires everywhere, is, in my view, a form of rebooting our history and rebooting the mind and conditioning the mind into accepting the possibility that should the election be contested in 2017, that mass action looking exactly the way it is looking now, but also the mass action that led to the post-election violence in 2007, that is probable.
The second question is, who benefits from these school fires? Because the biggest beneficiary must also be the primary suspect.
So, who is the object of aggression in these school fires? Who are the students aggressing here? More importantly, who are the beneficiaries of these fires? And if we were to determine who the beneficiary is, will we determine the main suspect?
I would want to disabuse the country of the notion that the students are the ones that are involved in the burning of the schools. I think that argument is pedestrian. Number two, I would also want to disabuse the country of the notion that the cartels that are supplying stolen exams and that give other supplies to schools are the ones that are burning schools. And I say so because contrary to the thinking, which is also pedestrian in this country, that corruption fights back. Corruption never fights back. Corruption corrupts back. So if these cartels are indeed corrupt, burning a hand in schools does not help them. A hand in out of 9,000 for that matter, it doesn't help them. Corruption cartels are a lot more clever than that. So I do not think that that is the situation. The question we must beg then is the following. Who is the major beneficiary of a national crisis? Who is this guy or this institutional animal that has been the main consumer of national crisis? And my hypothesis is as follows, that without a crisis, there is no CORD. The main consumer of national crisis in this country for the last 2-3 years has been CORD. So long as we have had a national crisis, CORD has been together. You remove the crisis, code degenerates. IEBC riots, code is one. Remove IEBC riots, what happens? You have the Luya rebellion. So is it possible, hypothetically, to argue that the crisis in schools has been created largely as a way of dealing with the Luya rebellion? Because immediately the Luya rebellion kicked in, there was nothing to wax the parties together. So are these unrelated things related in any way?
The third question is, what is the law of unrelated things in these fires? Could the things that appear unrelated to us actually be closely linked?
Is there a connection between the school fires and the teacher strike in 2015, NYS, Eurobond, IEBC, SGR, the Luya Rebellion, terror attacks in the past? Does the coherence theory link all these things together? If so, what does the coherence theory tell us about the coming crises?
In politics, there is nothing like the law of unrelated things. Everything is related to everything, especially during election seasons, which therefore means that if you have a national crisis of whatever magnitude or whatever nature, that crisis must be seen to be related to electoral politics. The only thing you need to do to find out the relationship is ask the right questions, and the questions will lead you to the relationship. The last question you must pose is the following: is the Kenya banning narrative a scheme that is intended on scaring us into the possibilities of war? Such a scheme is being executed using 3 stages. And it's the same stages that we saw during the post-election violence. First stage was what you call innocent picketing, people going on the streets, carrying placards and blowing whistles and carrying twigs, and basically saying, we have a problem with what has happened. We have a problem with IEBC. We have a problem with the results of the election. And if the students are the ones picketing, they're saying we have a problem because we are not watching football. That is innocent picketing. But then this picketing acquires a life of its own and goes to the second level. The second level is deliberate provocation. And at that particular point, the innocence is lost, and certain clever players take up the lead, and they deliberately provoke. And the deliberate provocation results in the third level of progression, which is the desired retaliation. So if you move from innocent picketing to deliberate provocation, which is the work of some political engineers, and then from there you move on to desired retaliation, and actual retaliation happens, then instability becomes the end result.
This is a message to our students from our founding fathers. Read from the Bible, from the book of Daniel and 1 Timothy. Students, let no man despise your youth, but set an example in your speech, conduct, love, faithfulness, and purity. Young people, the writing's on the wall. Mene, mene, teke, uparsin. Let no one use you as cannon fodder for bad politics. That is despising your youth. God bless Kenya.